People think moving from the UK to the Philippines is about beaches, cheap living, an easy life. That's not the truth, because some things here feel incredibly freeing, and others quietly mess with you in ways no travel vlog ever mentions. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why some people fall in love with this move, and why others quietly go back home. I'm going to walk you through a normal day in my life here, but not the polished version, the real one. And there's one difference between life in the UK and life here that hit me so hard, I didn't even notice it at first. I'll explain that later. My day starts earlier here, not because I set an alarm, not because I'm chasing productivity, but because the country itself wakes up early. In the UK, mornings felt contained, almost boxed in. You wake up, check the time, check your phone, rush through routines. Everyone is moving with purpose, but rarely with patience. Faces forward, head down, get to the next place. Silence, but not peace. Here, mornings unfold differently. Before my phone buzzes, I hear life. Roosters calling out before sunrise, motorbikes passing slowly, street vendors setting up while the sky is still soft and grey. People are already awake, not scrolling, not rushing, talking, laughing, existing, and that's when you feel it. The morning isn't something to get through. It's something people actually inhabit. Here's the first truth nobody talks about. Life here doesn't feel optimized. It feels lived. There's no obsession with efficiency. No pressure to extract maximum value from every minute. At first, that feels refreshing, almost healing. But then you realize something important. When life stops pushing you forward, you're forced to decide where you're going on your own. And that changes everything. Let's talk about money, because this is the part everyone is secretly waiting for. Yes, things are cheaper here. Rent doesn't eat your entire paycheck. Food feels affordable again. Transport doesn't feel like a monthly punishment. On paper, it looks like freedom. But here's what surprised me. In the UK, higher costs came with predictability. Bills were painful, but they were stable. You knew exactly what was coming out, when it was coming out, and why. There was comfort in that, even if it hurt. Here, life is cheaper, but less predictable. One day, everything works perfectly. Power's steady. Internet's fast. Plans are solid. The next day, the power cuts out. The internet crawls. A simple errand turns into an afternoon, and no one's panicking. That's the part that messes with your head. Because in the UK, systems are built to be controlled. Here, life is built to be adjusted. You start realizing something uncomfortable. You can't schedule your way out of inconvenience. You can't optimize unpredictability, so you adapt. You stop trying to control everything. You build buffer into your day. You learn patience, not as a virtue, but as a survival skill. And here's the truth. That shift is freeing and frustrating. Both can exist at the same time. Some days, the slower pace feels like peace. Other days, you miss knowing that everything will just work. But once your mindset changes, there's no going back. Because predictability gives you structure, but flexibility gives you resilience. And this place quietly teaches you that, whether you're ready or not. Let me pause here, because this part matters. Most people talk about what changes when you move countries. Almost nobody talks about how it changes you. And this is where the UK and the Philippines feel worlds apart. In the UK, privacy is respected. Distance is normal. You don't ask too many questions. You don't linger too long. Everyone understands the invisible rules. Here, people notice you. Neighbors greet you, even if you've never spoken before. Strangers ask where you're going, where you're from, how long you've been here. Someone always wants to talk, or joke, or help. At first it's a lot. You start wondering if you're being watched, if you're standing out too much, if you're supposed to respond or escape. But then something slowly shifts. You realize loneliness works differently here. In the UK, you can be surrounded by people and still feel invisible. You can live next to someone for years and never learn their name. Here, it's harder to disappear. People remember you, they check in. They notice when you're gone, and that does something to you. It's comforting because you feel seen, but it's also confronting because being seen means being known. There's less room to hide behind routine, less space to disappear into yourself. Some days that warmth feels like community. Other days it feels like exposure. Because when people pay attention to you, they also expect you to show up. And that's the invisible difference no one explains before you move. This place doesn't just change your environment. It quietly asks you who you are, when no one lets you fade into the background, the part nobody warned me about. Remember when I said there was one difference that didn't hit me right away? This is it, time. In the UK, time felt expensive. Every minute had a purpose. If something took too long, it felt wrong. Conversations had endpoints. Days had schedules. Silence felt like wasted space. Here, time stretches. People don't rush you out of conversations. Nobody apologizes for slowing down. If something takes longer, that's just how it goes. At first, it feels like freedom. No pressure to move faster. No constant countdown in your head. No feeling like you're always late for something else. But then something uncomfortable shows up. When time stops pushing you, you have to decide what matters on your own. No system tells you what's important. No culture shames you into productivity. No invisible clock judges how you spend your day. That sounds small, it's not. Because when time becomes abundant, distractions lose their excuse. You can't blame the rush anymore. You can't hide behind being busy. You start asking harder questions. What am I actually building? Who do I want to become when no one's rushing me? What stays when urgency disappears? And that's when you realize this place doesn't just change your pace. It changes your priorities. Some people love that. Others quietly struggle with it. Because freedom without direction can feel just as heavy as pressure. And nobody warns you about that part before you move. In the UK, productivity felt like identity. What you do, how fast you do it, how well you perform under pressure. Those things didn't just describe your job. They described you. Busy meant important. Booked meant valuable. Exhausted meant you were doing something right. Here, that link breaks. Your worth isn't immediately tied to output. No one asks what you do 5 minutes into a conversation. No one seems impressed by how busy you are, and that messes with you. Because when the noise fades, when deadlines loosen, when no one's measuring your speed, you're left with yourself. Some people thrive here. They rediscover hobbies. They slow down and breathe. They finally feel human again. Others feel lost. Without constant pressure, they don't know who they are. Without urgency, motivation slips. Without structure, days blur together. And that's the part nobody prepares you for. This place doesn't reward hustle the same way. It doesn't clap for burnout. It doesn't care how hard you're pushing, only how present you are. That's freeing, if you're grounded. But if your identity was built entirely on achievement, the silence can feel loud. That's why not everyone stays. Some people miss the pressure. Some miss being defined by their work. Some go back, not because life was better, but because it was clearer. And realizing that about yourself, that's one of the hardest adjustments of all. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Moving countries doesn't fix your life. It amplifies it. And the Philippines amplifies things quietly. By evening, the contrast hits again. In the UK, nights felt scheduled. Dinner, TV, sleep. Evenings were predictable, neat, like a carefully folded routine. Comforting, yes, but also quiet, almost empty. Here, evenings spill out. Street food stalls light up one by one, their sizzling pans and aromas filling the air. People gather on sidewalks, laughing, joking, sharing meals and stories. Motorbikes pass, vendors shout prices, music drifts from open windows. It's messy, noisy, chaotic, but it's human. At first it feels overwhelming. You're not used to this level of energy after sunset. You're not used to feeling like you're part of a living, breathing community rather than just existing inside a city that goes to bed early. And that's when it clicked for me. The Philippines doesn't offer a perfect life. It offers a different one. One where time is lived, not measured. Where people notice you and sometimes demand your attention. Where mornings are early but slow. Where evenings are long and alive. It's not better than the UK. It's not worse. It's simply another rhythm, another way to experience the world. And when you start to understand that rhythm, really feel it, you begin to see the country in a new way. It's a place where life is messy, sometimes frustrating, occasionally chaotic, but always real. A life like this forces reflection. It asks questions you didn't even know you had, about time, identity, priorities, and how you want to live. And that's the subtle power of moving here. It doesn't hand you answers. It hands you the chance to rediscover them yourself. So here's the truth no one talks about. The real difference between the UK and the Philippines isn't money, it isn't the weather, and it isn't the beaches. No matter how many travel videos try to sell that story, it's something far more subtle, something that doesn't appear on a map or in a guidebook. It's how much space life gives you. Space to breathe when mornings feel slow. Space to connect when strangers and neighbors make you notice you're not invisible. Space to confront yourself when time stretches and your identity isn't tied to output. Some people need structure. They thrive on schedules, deadlines, routines. Without it, they feel lost, anxious, untethered. Others need space, room to think, room to grow, room to explore without constant pressure. The freedom to fail, the freedom to wander, the freedom to exist without constantly performing. And knowing which one you are, that's what determines whether this move transforms your life or quietly drives you back home. Because here's the kicker, no country will fix you. No place will give you the life you imagine on Instagram or YouTube. The Philippines will only amplify who you already are. It will make patience a skill. It will test your adaptability. It will push you to confront the parts of yourself you've been ignoring. And if you're ready for that, if you can embrace the chaos, the warmth, the unpredictability, then this country can become more than a move. It can become a mirror, a teacher, and a home all at once. So here's what I want you to do. Think about the life you really want. The mornings you want to wake up to, the people you want around you, and the space you need to grow. Because the rest, it's just scenery. The question isn't whether the Philippines is perfect. The question is, can you live freely, fully, and honestly in a place that gives you the room to do it? And that, right there, is the truth no one talks about. If you're thinking about moving abroad or already living somewhere new, this conversation matters. Subscribe and share this with someone who's been considering a big move. And if you want more honest, ground-level stories about how people really live around the world, you know where to find me.